Tonight's episode of Watson, titled Lucky, delivered another deeply emotional yet thrilling story that balanced mystery, morality, and human connection. The episode aired on November 10, 2025, on CBS, and it brought back Sherlock in the most unexpected way while also throwing Dr. Watson into a shocking medical case that tested both his instincts and his heart. The story revolved around a patient who was believed to be in a coma for 16 years, but was actually trapped inside his own body. Fully conscious, unable to move, and silently witnessing terrible things around him. The hour turned into a gripping mix of science, suspense, and justice as Watson and his team tried to uncover a deadly secret lurking in a hospital ward. The episode began with a surprise return. Sherlock Holmes suddenly reappeared in Watson's life. He casually mentioned that he was in town working on a nearby case, but Watson didn't expect him to show up in the middle of the night. To make things more bizarre, Sherlock prepared Todd in the hole for breakfast the next morning as if everything was normal. Watson wasn't angry exactly, but he did warn Sherlock that turning up unannounced in the middle of the night could get him in trouble someday. Not necessarily with him, but with others who might react badly to an unexpected visitor. Their breakfast took a strange turn when they saw Sherlock's brother, Mycroft, on the news. Mycroft was now the CEO of Diogenes Technology, a big tech company with mysterious connections. Longtime fans of Sherlock lore know that Mycroft usually works for the government, so naturally, Watson asked if the company had any secret ties to intelligence operations. Sherlock wasn't sure. He hadn't spoken to Mycroft in years. Their relationship had always been tense, filled with silence and unresolved conflicts. Sherlock even joked that Mycroft might not even know he had returned from the dead again. Watson thought that was typical Sherlock, full of surprises and mysteries. But before he could even process Sherlock's return, he found himself pulled into a completely different mystery that was far more haunting. While giving a guest lecture at Van Kirk Memorial Hospital, a nurse named Alicia Santos approached him for help. Alicia was clearly distressed and told him she believed one of her long-term patients was trying to communicate, despite being declared comatose for over a decade. The patient's name was Louis "Lucky" Collier, and his story was heartbreaking. 16 years earlier, he had a massive stroke while his wife was out of town. When she returned a day later, she found him unresponsive. Doctors at the time diagnosed him as comatose, and he was sent to long-term care where he had remained ever since. His wife passed away soon after his hospitalization, and no one visited him again for 10 years. The hospital staff had long stopped seeing him as anything more than a body on life support. Everyone except Nurse Alicia, who noticed something different. She said that when she spoke to him, his eyes would sometimes respond. She believed he could hear her, understand her, and maybe even feel emotions. But no one took her seriously. The other nurses brushed her off, saying she was imagining things. Still, Alicia didn't give up. When she heard that the famous Dr. Watson would be speaking at the hospital, she seized the moment to ask him for help. Watson, being who he is, didn't ignore her. He went to see the patient himself and immediately sensed that Alicia might be right. Lucky's case fascinated him. The man hadn't had a proper EEG since he was first admitted 16 years ago. Watson examined him carefully and realized that Lucky might be suffering from something called locked-in syndrome. It's a rare neurological condition where a person is completely conscious but unable to move or speak, except for limited eye movements. Essentially, Lucky was trapped in his own body, awake, aware, but unable to communicate. Watson and Alicia tried communicating with him using blinking patterns. And to their shock, Lucky responded. He was indeed aware of everything happening around him, even for the past 16 years. What he revealed next left everyone horrified. Lucky claimed to have seen a nurse on his floor intentionally harming patients. According to him, this nurse was killing vulnerable patients, and he was the only witness. But because of his condition, he couldn't warn anyone. Until now. At first, the claim seemed unbelievable, but before the team could dismiss it, a patient on that same floor mysteriously died. That was enough for Watson to take Lucky's warning seriously. He arranged to have Lucky transferred to UHOP, University Hospital of Princeton, for closer supervision and better treatment. It was supposed to be a safe move, away from danger. But danger, as it turned out, followed him there. The murderous nurse, upon learning that Lucky had started communicating, panicked. She was a traveling nurse, which made it easier for her to move between hospitals undetected. To protect her secret, she got herself assigned to UHOP, posing as part of the staff. Her goal was simple: silence Lucky for good before he could expose her. She managed to sneak into his room and inject him with a paralytic. She didn't kill him outright because that would draw suspicion. Instead, she gave him enough of the drug to trap him again inside his body, unable to blink or move, effectively silencing him once more. Watson realized something was wrong when Lucky suddenly stopped responding. His vitals were stable, but he wasn't opening his eye or signaling back anymore. It didn't make sense medically, until Watson pieced it together. Someone had done this to him deliberately. Once again, Lucky was trapped in a living nightmare, unable to warn anyone. Watson knew they had to move fast if they wanted to save both Lucky and any potential future victims. He called Detective Lestrand, who agreed to help, but only if they could bring Lucky back enough to testify in some form. The medical team worked around the clock to reverse the effects of the paralytic, and thankfully, they succeeded. Lucky regained limited movement again, and now the focus shifted to finding a way to help him communicate more effectively and safely. That's when Ingrid, one of the researchers, suggested something radical. Her mentor had been working on a neural interface that could let patients like Lucky communicate directly through brain activity. The only problem was that Ingrid's mentor, Dr. Schiff, had been kicked out of the tech company he founded. His investors had taken over and cut him out for not making his research profitable fast enough. When Ingrid went to find him, he was drinking away his sorrows at 11 a.m. But Adam, another team member, wanted to help. He offered to reach out and get Schiff involved again. During a tense meeting, Ingrid vented her frustration about being unable to access Schiff's tech, which led Beck to step in. Beck accused her of hiding her emotions and called her out for being afraid to ask for help directly. But then he did something unexpected. He took matters into his own hands, threatened the corporate investors who ousted Schiff, and got the rights restored to him. That bold move paid off. Schiff was back in control of his research, and Lucky became the first candidate for the clinical trial. The technology would allow him to communicate using only his brain signals, effectively giving him a voice for the first time in 16 years. Meanwhile, the killer nurse tried to flee the country to Vietnam, a place with no extradition agreement. But Sherlock wasn't going to let her get away that easily. In classic Sherlock fashion, he called in a fake bomb threat at the airport, forcing authorities to detain her long enough for the police to arrive and arrest her. It was one of those rare moments where Sherlock's morally gray methods worked for good. The case finally came to a satisfying close. Lucky survived. The nurse was caught, and justice was served. But the emotional impact lingered. Watson couldn't stop thinking about how many other patients like Lucky might be out there, wrongly written off as unresponsive. His belief in second chances and listening closely to the overlooked once again proved why he's one of the best in his field. The episode ended on a bittersweet note between Sherlock and Mycroft. Sherlock confessed that before faking his death the last time, he had given Mycroft a piece of technology that he knew would eventually fail. Mycroft, unaware of its long-term consequences, had published and profited from it, and now faced bankruptcy as the truth came to light. Sherlock, typically unapologetic, simply shrugged it off, but it was clear the move had deeply damaged their already fragile relationship. To make matters worse, Mycroft was now trying to take over Watson's clinic, setting up another emotional and professional conflict for the episodes ahead. Watson Season 2, Episode 5 perfectly blended personal drama with medical and moral dilemmas. It explored themes of consciousness, ethics, and human compassion through the haunting story of Lucky Collier, a man who saw too much and could say nothing. Sherlock's chaotic energy brought humor and intensity, while Watson's quiet empathy grounded the story. The episode was a reminder that even in silence, the truth can find a way to speak, and sometimes it takes someone like Watson to listen.